What's up, everyone? My name's Angel Hernandez, and this is my road reel. Now, I did not make the BTS footage as big of a priority as I should have, but we did manage to get some footage. So what I'm going to do is break down some of my favorite shots and show you guys how I lit them. First of all, I do want to point out that we used the Rode NTG4 Plus for all the sound in this film. I know this is Rode, so I just want to get this out of the way. Here's my buddy Jerry setting up the mic that was connected to the Zoom F6. So yeah, just want to get that out of the way so you guys know that that we were using a Rode product throughout filming of this project, and for all the Foley that Foley, however you pronounce it, we used it for all of that too. So the first shot I want to jump into is actually the first scene of the movie. In this scene, we see right here a little hard streak of light over his eyes, kind of being motivated by the window, and this light's bothering him. He has to, get up and close it. This light was actually created artificially, obviously with a 300D. 300D is a monster light. And for stuff like this, you want to make sure that the light is hard. You can't really cut any soft light. It's a lot harder. When the light is hard, no diffusion in front of it, then it's a lot easier to cut. We actually even put a Fresnel lens in front of it, which actually caused it to kind of create these little lines you see here from the Fresnel lens mount. But I think I kind of like the way that looked, honestly. And so we did that to kind of spot it a little more and make it a little more directional, and so that it didn't spill very much. And then we just kind of put these little flags on each side of the light and sandwiched it in enough that we created this little streak on his face. And then we just had my friend Steven, who was helping us out on set, just close it with his hands, and then let go and have them open naturally. And I think it created a pretty cool little effect here. As far as the rest of the lighting, honestly, we just had a little Tri-8 panel pointed at the ceiling to just kind of add a little bit of ambiance to the rest of the scene so that it wasn't just pitch black. The next scene that we want to talk about is actually the scene where he gets up to open the blinds here. So we wanted to shoot through the window. And the tricky part about shooting through a window is that you have to expose to the window, right? So what I used here in front of my camera was a Polar Pro matte box set that actually has a variable ND with the filters. It's a cool little system. And so I just stopped that down until I was able to look out the window and see what I was happy with. But the problem when you do that is that the window no longer fills the room in with enough light once you stop down that far. So you have to find another way to kind of create the ambience that you would see coming from the window. So what we did here is actually just put a 300D off behind him with the softbox, and it's shown kind of directly on him, but very lowly, so that it just creates the ambiance. But the problem that we had here was that when the window is closed, it doesn't make sense for the room to be that bright, right? So we kind of had to fill the room in with light as the blinds went up. So what we did there is that there's actually an app the Aperture developed for its newer lights, and there's a little slider. And my friend Steven, opened up the app. So the tricky part was timing opening of the blinds with us raising the intensity of the light, or raising the brightness of the light. So that slider made it a lot easier. So we kind of set our dark point, right? And then we set our high point, and then we just slid the slider back and forth, trying to time it with him opening the blinds. And it turned out pretty well. It's not perfect. You can even see a little bit at the end of the shot that it's still kind of brightening even after he's done opening the blinds. But I think when you're looking at it in context, it doesn't look too bad. And I was really impressed that we were able to pull that off, honestly. I was a little skeptical that would even look natural, and I think it actually did. So that was kind of a lifesaver there, that app there. Otherwise, spinning the little wheel that's on the light would have taken ages, and it would have looked really clunky. The next shot I wanna go through is the one where he's kind of looking at the TV here, or at his computer monitor. Now this shot was a little complex because we had to fill in ambiance, obviously, because we're looking out the window, so we needed a lot of light inside to fill the ambient light with. And we also needed to come up with the light to shine on his face to replicate the monitor. Obviously, a monitor, it's not going to be bright enough on its own to light up his face while we're looking out the window. If this was a dark room, we probably could have just set the monitor to like a white or blue screen and it would have worked just fine. But because we're looking out the window, we really needed to use some sort of fabricated light source to replicate the monitor. So what we did is back here we put the 300D again to fill in the ambiance again, because we're looking out the window, so we need a lot of light, a really powerful light source to fill in the ambiance here, right? So this is behind him. I don't believe it's pointed directly at him. I think it's pointed at the wall next to the window. As far as the light in front of him, we hung a aperture panel, another one of my Tri-8 panels on a C-stand, so it's kind of like L'd over the desk, and it's just shining directly on him. No diffusion or anything. Kind of give it a little bit of a harder light source. Though panels are kind of softer than single point sources because they have so many nodes. So it's kind of like a nice little in between. It's a little soft, but not too soft. It still has a little bit of some hard quality. But we did put a gel over it. We put a blue gel to try to make it a little bluer. I kind of wish that we would have gotten a bluer gel, or if I had some sort of RGB light, or at least a color temperature light where I can change the color temperature to make it a little bluer. I don't think the blue popped as much as I wanted it to. And I also kind of wish I would have done some sort of cookie cutter in front of the light to kind of give the light some texture to actually make it seem like he's watching TV or he's watching something on his computer. I was really impressed with the way this looked nonetheless, even though I kind of wish I would have done those things different. I think it has a nice little contrast with the light in his face and the shadow. And when he turns the light off, where he's supposed to be turning off his monitor or his TV or whatever, and he actually just switches off the light and he just kind of falls into darkness. And I really like the way that looks. All right, the last scene that I want to go through is this little romantic dinner scene that we have in his that this is just his imagination kind of going to work, and we wanted to create a nice little scene that seemed a little romantic and a little intimate. So what we did is just we did your basic kind of dinner table scene. We hid the 300D overhead with a lantern. It is like a China ball, but its aperture makes it. It's called the lantern. And it just kind of spreads the light all over the place nice and evenly. And it looks real nice. You can actually see it here in the reflection of the painting. I was able to get that painting out using After Effects' content aware fill. And it came out pretty nicely, though it is just a picture, right? Based off the pixels that After Effects reads. It creates a little PNG to replace it. So we have the light flickering here from the candles. I'll get to that a little more in a second, but you can see that everything else is reacting to the flicker except for the little spot that it filled in. But I think you got to really, really look at it to notice, but I was able to get this out in the final version, but I wanted to keep it in here for this little picture so you guys can see kind of what I was doing here. So it was just kind of hanging overhead, and I had the shot like that for a minute, and I thought I liked it. I thought that was good enough. And then somebody was like, well, if it's supposed to be romantic, maybe they should have some candles. So I had a candle laying around, and we put it in, but it wasn't strong enough to actually do any flicker onto their faces. And so my buddy Steven, being the prepared Boy Scout that he is, had one of those little aperture Amaran lights. I think it's an Amaran. But it's just those little teeny aperture mini panels. And those things also connect with the app like the 300D does, and has a bunch of effects in it, and one of them is a candle flicker effect. So we actually just hid it right behind the candle, and we made it a different color than the rest of the light. We made it really, really orange. The light here is actually daylight. We just moved the color temperature in camera to make it look a little less, make it look a little more tungsten. But the natural color of the light was daylight, so we kind of just played in camera to make it look a little more tungsteny, and then we made this light that was hidden behind the candle more orange, and so you can see it flicker on their faces when you play. And then when we did the close-ups, instead of altering the light to make to beautify it a little more, we left the lighting just the way it was, and I think it came out really nice. I love the way that the candlelight flickers. That was a really, really nice move by my buddy Steven there. Just added a cool little extraness to the shot that I was really happy with. And that's what I got for you guys. I hope you guys found this educational. I'm hoping to do stuff like this more on this channel. I know this is specifically for my road reel, so I hope the judges enjoyed. But I am hoping to do a little bit more of this type of stuff for more projects that I do, so I can kind of guide people in my thought processes and how I got stuff done. If you guys like it, subscribe to the channel. Click on the like button below. And I'm hoping that I'll make some more videos like this down in the future. And for the judges, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this stuff. And you guys have a nice day.